Okay, Ironman tip of the week, open water swim tips. Okay, guys. So this week's Ironman tip, we're going to talk about some open water swim tips. And I think I've done an open water topic in a previous video, but I'm going to concentrate really on open water swim breathing tips. So for any of you, first timers or people who are new to triathlon and you've been in the pool and doing some swim training in the pool, but you haven't had much of an opportunity to get out in the open water, um, I thought I'd kind of speak to you folks. If you have some fear or uncertainty about open water swimming, there's all kinds of things that, if you haven't done it before, you can get keyed up about. But I think one of the most important things you can do to alleviate the stress of all the other things is to have a rock solid breathing technique, especially for open water. So I did a swim workout today and I was kind of working on my breathing. And so I thought I'd talk a little bit about that, my experiences in my open water swims um, that might help you get out of the water without panicking. Okay. Um, so I remember one of my first swims, open water swims in a race, was an Olympic distance race in Kema, which is near Galveston. And in that race, what they do is the 1 mile swim, and they take you out on this big party boat. It's a big paddle boat, okay, and take you out 1 mile, and that timer goes off. Well, I don't remember, but they send you off the end of that boat, and you just jump in and swim to shore. Okay, um, a little bit, dicey because jumping out of that boat was about a 6 foot jump into that water. Just not something I was expecting to have to do. But anyways, the little things that you think about come race day, race morning. So I remember that swim. I typically breathe. I don't I can bilateral breathe. I don't normally. I breathe to the right hand side every time, and so. But what happened in that swim, as I was coming in, those waves were smashing right into my face, and so I was taking on a lot of water. Well, so I switched to the left side, and although I can breathe to the left, way less efficient, and so about every third breath, I'd be getting some salt water in my mouth, and so I took on a fair amount of salt water. Between the salt water and the waves, um, I was really seasick by the time I got to shore, and then it went away, and it was no big deal. But I just remember in that swim thinking, "Wow, I hope that not all swims are this way." Well, they're not. My Ironman swim was in a lake, so I didn't have that current type of wave to deal with. But pretty good crowd, and so there was plenty of wave and chop that I had to deal with. So, tip number one: work on your bilateral breathing. Even if you don't plan to use it on race day, it's really good to have some familiarity with going either side, and some confidence that you're able to catch a breath on either side. Um, and if you bilateral breathe as a rule, then you're better for it probably. Um, but if you don't, I'd suggest you do some drills and practice your breathing, so that you can, if you have to switch, that you're prepared to, and you'll be able to get your breath. Um, okay, tip number two: if you find yourself, gassed, if you do a race and you're there's 100 different reasons why you'd get keyed up and out of breath, and you're just pushing too hard. You're in a race, everything's amped up. But if your effort is where you want it to be, yet you're feeling like you're just flat running out of steam, or air, It may be because with all the commotion and all the things your brain is having to think about, you're not breathing out completely. I do it in the pool often, and so I have to really focus on that's kind of what I worked on today. Um, you know, if you're in the pool, whenever you're training, really consider spending some time. What I do is, if I feel myself in that situation, I focus on 3 or 4 breaths. I really force that air out. I push it completely out right before I take that breath. I mean, I'm breathing out the entire stroke, but by the time my head comes up to take a breath, I'm out. So it's almost an involuntary uh, uh, motion to inhale. Okay, it just allows you to get a better turnover. You don't have any spent air in your lungs is taking up space and giving you zero benefit on the next breath. Um, really force that air out. If you do that 3 or 4 breaths in a row, really focus on it. For me, what it does is it allows me to kind of refresh or reset my effort level, my levels. I don't know, my oxygen levels, whatever it is, but I almost get this sense of like hanging on the side of the pool or something. You don't need much time. You don't need but a couple of seconds, and man, you just feel like $100. It's what that does for me. Um, and so when you're in open water with that chop and all, it can get, you get water in your mouth or in your throat, and you're having to kind of spit all that out, and you're not exhaling like you need to. Do that little technique. For me, it helps. Hopefully, it will give you some comfort that you can catch your breath um, during a race. And then tip number 3. Really, be sure to get a good rotation on your body position in the water when you go, on your breathing stroke. It allows your head, put your head in a position, your mouth in position to catch that breath without raising your head up out of the water, especially when you got these waves and chop. You feel like you got to really get out of the water to get a breath. It's just not necessary. If you put your body in a position, in that 45-degree position, it just allows you to get your head in a place where you're not having to bring that head up. You just rotate it and you're clear of the water, okay? In the open water, it's vital that you get good breath. You're going to get water in your mouth, and every so often you're going to have to kind of choke that out or down or whatever. And so you want to put yourself in the best position possible to get as many good breaths as you can during your swim. You remember, if your head goes up, your body goes down, more drag, inefficient, your pace slows down. So you do not want to raise that head up out of the water. You just want to be able to turn it. And if your body's not if your body stays flat in the water, it's just that much harder to get your head, your mouth out to catch that breath. So be sure and get good rotation. There are 100 other things that I'm no swimmer, so I don't want to lead you down the wrong path, but I know those things help me. So I would say if you're a first timer and you don't have an opportunity to get into a lake or an open water, often, just work on these tips when you're doing your swims in the pool, and kind of get your mindset in that you're in open water and you're having to overcome the crowd, the waves, current, whatever, and work on that breathing, because I can tell you, if you can be comfortable in your breathing, rock solid in your breathing, all that crazy Ironman start will be easy to overcome. But if you can't breathe, everything else falls apart. So that's it. That's my Ironman tip of the week. Hope it helped. Okay, well, thanks for watching, folks. If you liked the video, be sure and give us a thumbs up. You know that we're training and we're doing these videos as a fundraising event for Tying Vines. It's a nonprofit who does humanitarian work for Syrian refugees in Lebanon. we're doing our fundraiser through Ironman Foundation. We call our fundraiser Melissa's Promise. So you can look us up. You can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and I use Strava when I train. So if you use that app, you can follow me there as well. Would love to have you go to our foundation page and hit that donate button. We need all the help we can get to raise funds for Tiny Vines. They do great work, vocational training and trauma counseling, education for these kids who, live in a tent. There is no opportunity for education. They are simply losing the opportunity. So Tiny Vines does a great job in providing those services to these refugees who really have nothing and no way to get out of the situation they're in. So please consider donating. Okay, well, thanks again for watching. Be sure and hit that subscribe button if you'd like to get see our other videos, get some tips and topics we've talked about, Ironman related things. Thanks again for watching, and we will see you next week.